Hey plant lovers, so in today's video I'm going to be repotting my umbrella plant because as you can see it has lots of roots growing out of the bottom of the pot. There are also roots growing out of the top of the pot too, and in addition to that it's also drying out really fast. I'm also going to be answering a few of your questions. I asked you guys if you had any questions on the community tab, so I'm going to be answering those as well. So first let's see how root bound this plant is. There is a chance that it might not even be root bound. Sometimes the roots just grow out because they do, but the fact that I've got roots growing out of the bottom and the top and it's drying out really fast, that would say to me that it probably needs repotting. Obviously the only way to find out is to have a look. So let's see what we've got. So one of the questions you guys asked was, if you were a plant, what would you be? So I reckon I would probably be a pothos. And the reason for that is because they are resilient and adaptable. And these are qualities that are essential in order to survive being in this world. So yeah, that's why I would be a pothos. There are always going to be issues in life, but if you can be resilient and you can adapt to get past them, then I think those are key qualities to have as a human being. Oh, here it comes. Right. Oh yeah, it is root bound. I don't know why I'm surprised. Part of me wondered whether this plant might just be being dramatic and it's not going to end up being root bound, but yes, it is root bound. We have some insane roots filling up the entire pot. And to be really honest with you, the reason I was unsure that this could even be root bound is because I did repot this at the beginning of spring. So I was kind of surprised to see that it might be already outgrowing its pot, but it has. So here we are. Those roots don't want to come through. Let's just detangle them a little bit. It won't matter if they get a bit broken. It's not going to harm the plant at all, but they've come through pretty well there. Yeah, there we go. And just look at that. Those roots are covering all of the soil available there. So yeah, this was definitely in need of a repot. And I'm very glad that I took this out to check. So let's see what size pot this is going to need. That one, it doesn't have a great deal of space in there. This one's quite big, but yeah, I think it's going to have to be this one because that gives it a little bit of space around to continue growing. I'm not going to remove any soil because this is, well, it's not soil, it's soilless mix, but the substrate in there is my mix. And it's not that old. As I say, I just repotted this at the beginning of spring, so I know it's good stuff. And I don't want to waste it, so I'm just going to keep it. This should be a pretty simple repot, really. And honestly, I could just do with a bit of a chilled out repot today because I have been battling thrips, and I'm not going to complain about it because, you know, I bought it on myself. If you collect a lot of plants, you've got to expect to get pests, haven't you? But this year is the first year when I've actually had kind of a widespread issue that's affected a lot of plants. So it's kind of my first time kind of dealing with it as a wider issue as opposed to just a plant here and there. So yeah, I am going to do like a full video on how I've been dealing with the thrips, but I'm just waiting a little bit of time first so that I can, you know, provide, hello, so that I can provide you with all the information about what worked for me, what didn't work for me. So I am going to make a full video, but yeah, I want to wait first because obviously it's kind of hard to tell at the moment whether what I'm doing is successful, because I need to kind of check after 10 to 14 days to see if there are any left. So yeah, I did start out doing a mix of rubbing alcohol, water and dish soap. That's what I started out doing, and also showering them off in the shower. But it just was not dealing with the problem. Yeah, so in the end I did resort to using a systemic pesticide, and this is the one that I used. I'm very uncomfortable with using this, and it's the first time I've ever used it before, but I kind of had no choice. If you don't know, a systemic pesticide is basically a pesticide that will kill the pests on contact, but also it will kill any future pests by going into the plant, and when the pest eats the plant, it then kills off the pest that way as well. So yeah, I went for that option because I didn't really have a choice. And I have to say, the plants that I've used that on, they currently don't have any visible thrips, but that doesn't mean they won't come back. That's why I didn't want to make a video yet, because I want to see how long it takes if they do come back, or if they even do. The other thing I've been having an issue with is, of course, spider mites. And the reason all these pests are coming out right now, of course, here is that we are in the middle of our summer here in the UK. So pests love the hot weather, and this is the ideal conditions for them to thrive. So that's why I'm sure a lot of you who are also in the middle of your summer are also having similar issues. I do feel for you. But yeah, so spider mites as well. I found that the systemic I used on the thrips doesn't seem to work quite so well on the spider mites. I don't know why. So I've taken to just showering those off and quarantining the plant, because at least with spider mites they can't fly, can they? So, you know, I can put it in a quarantine space where it doesn't have a bridge to other plants, and then I can just blast them off with a shower. Also, rubbing alcohol, dish soap and water is good against spider mites. I don't know why the systemic doesn't work on spider mites. No idea, but I've just noticed that there's still some crawling. Admittedly, it wasn't many. I only saw one, but maybe it was one that hatched after it or something. I don't know. Okay, so another question that you guys asked was, which houseplant is overhyped in your opinion? I'd probably say the Monstera alba or Thai constellation. As you guys know, this plant was very expensive for a while, and it was like the it plant of the moment. And then, of course, now it's kind of just petered out, and those plants have become just common as anything. And I do think this is the same with a lot of plants. I'd say the philodendron pink princess is another one which is overhyped, but the thing they all have in common is that they get overhyped. You know, social media is probably a lot to blame for that. That drives up the prices, and yeah, people pay a fortune for them. But then in years to come, the prices always come down, and you know, I got my pink princess for about £12. If I'd have bought it back in the day when it was in its kind of heyday, it would have been way more than that. But the reason I pick the Monstera Elbow or Thai Constellation is just because, I mean, I do think they're nice plants, don't get me wrong. If I saw one at a really good price, I would probably buy it, but I'm not in a rush to kind of get one for the hell of it. And I just think that there are so many other plants with similar variegation that are A, faster growing, and B, they probably don't take up quite as much space as a Monstera deliciosa. Also, it's going to take quite a long time for this plant to grow, I think. I don't have one myself, but I'm just going on what I've heard from other people, and other people have said they're fairly slow growing. I kind of like to see progress in my plants, and I find slow growing plants a bit frustrating. But yeah, I think it's just got to that point now where the variegated Monsteras are no longer the thing in the moment, and I think a lot of sellers are maybe still trying to push them, but they're maybe not selling quite as well anymore, I don't know. They've just become pretty common now. I've seen a lot of big box stores seem to be getting them in the US now. I've not seen them here in the UK, but yeah, I just think that there are other plants I'd rather spend my money on, like, let me think of some examples. Epipremnum pinatum marble queen. That one does fenestrate eventually, so it kind of has a similar thing going on, only it's got more elongated leaves. And that one grows fairly fast, well, at least it has for me anyway. There's just all sorts of other plants that you could get. Yeah, so that answers that one. Right, I'm just going to give this a really good spanking now. Luckily, I didn't actually have to add too much extra stuff in there because it doesn't have the biggest amount of space, but it's still a good size up from the pot it had. Honestly, can't believe how fast these roots are growing with this plant. It has also stopped growing as well, so that's another good sign a plant is root bound. Yeah, glad I got that done. So there we go. It's a bit heavier now. And I bet it doesn't fit into its cover pot anymore. No, it does not. And this one's actually currently on one of my bedside tables, but I have a feeling it's going to have to come off there now because it's kind of getting to the stage of being a floor plant. But yeah, I'm glad it's growing well though. So what next? Yeah. Another question, what is your favourite thing about growing plants? What about it brings you the most joy? I would say definitely nurturing them and watching them grow. Nothing brings me more pleasure than looking after a plant, taking care of it, giving it everything it needs and seeing it grow well for me. It just makes me so happy to see that. And yeah, that's why I like plants that don't grow really slowly, because I love to see progress as quickly as possible, and I just really enjoy, yeah, watching them flourish really under my care. It's a wonderful feeling. Thanks for watching today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, as always, look after your plants and look after yourself.